All right, so when we divide polynomials, it's very similar to dividing numbers. So did y'all learn long division when you were dividing numbers? Okay, and so here's an example of when you were, say, dividing 277 by 12. That 277 is called the dividend, and that 12 is called the divisor. Okay, so whatever you are dividing is the dividend. Whatever you are dividing it by is called the divisor. Okay, and so when you divide, you're going to get a quotient as your answer, and anything left over is called the remainder. Okay, and so when you divide 277 by 12, I'm just going to rewrite it. You remember how you just look at the 27 and ask yourself, how many times does 12 go into 27? It goes into 27 two times, and then 2 times 12 is 24. Subtract gives you 3, and then you bring down that 7. And now you're asking yourself, how many times does 12 go into 37? Well, it goes in there 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. You subtract, and you get 1. There's nothing else to bring down, and 12 doesn't go into 1. Okay, and so that 23, that's ugly. That 23 is called your quotient, and the 1 is your remainder. And so the Algebra 2 standard says you can identify the quotient and remainder for division of polynomials. Okay, and so when you divide a polynomial, you're still going to have a dividend and a divisor. What you get up here will be the quotient polynomial, and what you get down here will be the remainder polynomial. Sometimes the remainder will be a linear function or a quadratic function. It's not necessarily a number this time. Okay, so example 1 is already worked out for you. And so I'm going to jump to example 2 and just work it from scratch. Okay, and so we are going to be dividing degree 3 and degree 4 polynomials by degree 1 and 2. So I'm going to have 4 examples, one of each type. Degree 3 by degree 1, then degree 3 by degree 2. Degree 4 by degree 1, then degree 4 by degree 2. Okay, and so the most important thing you need to know is you have to have a placeholder for any missing term. Okay, so when you're setting this up, x cubed minus 3x plus 5, it's missing the x squared term. And so when I write it, I need to write x cubed plus 0x squared minus 3x plus 5. You have to do that for both the dividend and the divisor if there's any missing terms. You don't put any terms at the beginning, but if it's missing any terms after, that's where you put the 0 as a placeholder. Okay, and so we are dividing it by x plus 2. And so this placeholder is extremely important. All right, and so now when you're doing your division, do it just like your numbers. You're only looking at the first part, and you're asking yourself, x times what would give you x cubed? X squared. Okay, and so we're going to write x squared right here. And so now we take that x squared and multiply by each of these two terms in the divisor. So x squared times x gives you the x cubed. X squared times 2 gives you 2x squared. Okay, and now we're going to subtract this polynomial from this original. Okay, and so when you're subtracting a polynomial, you're technically distributing a -1. And so what I like to say is draw the line, change the signs. That's how you're going to subtract. Okay, it's easier to see that written. So draw your line and change the sign of every single term, and that way when you're doing the subtraction, you're not going to mess it up. Okay, so x cubed minus x cubed goes away. You always want that first term to go away. And then 0x squared minus 2x squared is negative 2x squared. It's always weird when you see that 0. 0 minus 2 is 0. And then you're going to bring down these remaining terms. And then don't look at anything above this line. We're here now. Okay? Don't ever go back to the original. And so I kind of scribble it out so it doesn't distract me. So now we're working with this blue polynomial. And we're asking ourselves, x times what would give me negative 2x squared? Negative 2x. Okay? And so we're going to write the negative 2x right here. And then we're going to take that negative 2x and multiply it by each of the two terms of the divisor again. So negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared, just like we wanted. And then negative 2x times 2 is negative 4x. Okay, so now we draw our line, and for the subtraction, we just change the signs. So my minus is turned into a plus. So now this says negative 2x squared plus 2x squared, it goes away. And then negative 3x plus 4x is just x. And then we bring down that plus 5. Okay, and so we're done with everything above the line. Okay, now we're here at this purple polynomial. Asking ourselves, x times what would give me x? Just 1. Okay, and so put your plus 1, and then multiply that 1 by each of the two terms. And then draw your line, change your sign, and that leaves you with a 3. Okay, now x doesn't go into 3. Once you're 1 degree less than a divisor, you are done. There's nothing else we can do here. Okay, and so there's a couple of ways you can write your answer. So if the test question asks for the quotient, the only thing you would give is the x squared minus 2x plus 1. Algebra 2 standard says identify the quotient. You just identified the quotient. It also asks to identify the remainder. So if a test question asks you just to identify the remainder, the only thing you would type in is the 3. It's just a number. Okay. Another way they write the answer, for example, let me go back to that number example. When we got 23 remainder 1, you may see that written as 23 and 1/12. You write the remainder over the divisor to get that mixed number. And so we do the same thing with polynomials. They may write it as x squared minus 2x plus 1, and then they put another plus sign at the end, and then they write the remainder over whatever that divisor was. So it looks really weird. Yeah. So usually they put a plus anyway, and then they'll just put the negative up here. It's not wrong to put a minus, but usually they always put a plus. And so on a test question, if I put plus and then put like a D right there and ask you to fill in D, you would say -3. What is this called? The result of the division problem. And so the quotient is just this part, the remainder of this, and this is like your answer, I guess. So on a test question, you would probably just be filling in the coefficients. Like I said, this would probably be a D, and you would just type in the missing pieces because you wouldn't be able to type that in. And so usually the test will probably say, what's the quotient? You could type all that in using the little caret symbol, so x2, like that. Or it'll just ask for the remainder, which would be really easy to type in. And so it'll be clear what to type in, trust me. All right. So that's polynomial long division. We're going to do a few more examples. And so this time we're going to do degree 3 divided by degree 2. A couple places to do some placeholders, so notice those. And so when I set it up, I have 8x cubed plus 6x squared, and there's no x term, so we have to fill it in. And then over here, the divisor is also missing a term right in the middle, the x term. So we have to write x squared plus 0x plus 2. 2 placeholders. Right, we are set up and ready to go. So remember, don't look at all the rest. That's going to confuse you. Just ask yourself, x squared times what would give me that 8x cubed? 8x. Okay, we need an 8, and we also need an x. Okay, take that 8x and multiply it by all 3 terms of this divisor. So 8x times x squared is 8x cubed, just like we wanted. 8x times 0x is 0x squared. I always just put plus with zeros. It doesn't matter because it's 0. And then 8x times 2 is 16x. Okay, now we're going to subtract that. So we draw the line and change the signs. So all of these are in minus. Okay, so that first term goes away. 6 minus 0 is 6 for the x squared term. 0 minus 16 is negative 16x. Okay, and don't forget to bring down that term. Once you bring it down, you're allowed to ignore everything above the line. Okay, and so now we are at the blue polynomial, and we are asking ourselves, cover up the rest, x squared times what would give me 6x squared? Just 6. So dividing by a quadratic is actually easier because you don't have to go as far. So 6 times x squared is 6x squared. 6 times 0x is 0x, so plus 0x. And then 6 times 2 is 12. If you get a positive number, be sure to put a plus sign. Whenever you're writing polynomials, you need operations between the terms. So just because it's positive, don't leave a blank there. I've seen a lot of people do that. Okay, draw your line, change your signs. So negative 16 minus 0 is negative 16x. 7 minus 12 is negative 5. Okay, and then x squared isn't going to go into an x term. So this time our remainder is also a polynomial, not just a number. Okay, and so on a test, if they're asking for the quotient, I'm just going to put Q for quotient, you would type in the 8x plus 6. If they're asking for the remainder, that's where you would type in the negative 16x minus 5. And so that could be tricky on a multiple choice test. There's both linear options. They're both linear this time. And so make sure you know which one's the quotient and which one's the remainder. Okay, and so if we were going to rewrite this as a full polynomial, we would just put a plus sign, even though those are both negative, and then a fraction bar, and we would put the entire remainder over the divisor. And when you're writing the divisor, you don't have to put the placeholder. You can just put the x squared plus 2. So it looks really weird. Okay, and so if the test question were to ask for that, like, you would probably just be filling in A, B, and this would be like C, so that you could actually type it in. Everyone okay with that example? All right, Now we're up to degree 4 by degree 1. This part takes the longest because the further the divisor is from the dividend in degrees, the more steps you have to go through. And we need some placeholders. So for our setup, 2x4, and we're missing the x cubed term. So plus 0x cubed minus 3x squared plus 5x minus 1. And then our divisor is linear, x minus 2. There is actually a shortcut for when you're dividing by a linear that I will teach you in a little bit. Okay, so first step, we highlight the placeholders just because every year I have people forget the placeholders. And the problem with these is you can go through all the steps without it and not know you're doing anything wrong and just have a very wrong answer at the end. All right. X times what would give me that 2x4? 2x cubed. So we're going to put the 2x cubed right there. And then multiply that 2x cubed by each term over in the divisor. So 2x cubed times x is 2x4, just like we wanted. 2x cubed times negative 2 is negative 4x cubed. Okay, for the subtraction, draw your line, change your signs. Okay, so that first term goes away, and then 0 plus 4 is 4x cubed. Then we have 3 terms to bring down before we get to ignore everything above the line. Okay, and so now we're working with this blue polynomial, and we are asking ourselves, x times what would give me 4x cubed? 4x squared. And so it's positive, so put a plus sign, then 4x squared. Okay, so 4x squared times x is 4x cubed. 4x times negative 2 is negative 8x squared. Draw your line, change your signs. That term is gone, leaving us with a 5x squared. Bring down the rest of that blue polynomial, and then ignore everything above the line. Okay, and now we are asking ourselves, x times what would give us a 5x squared? 5x. Made it to the linear term. So 5x times x, 5x squared. 5x times negative 2 is negative 10x. Draw your line, change your signs. That's gone, leaving me with a 15x and a minus 1. All right. X times what would give me a 15x? Just 15. Is that going to show up? Okay, so 15 times x is 15x. 15 times negative 2 is negative 30. Draw your line, change your sign, cross that off, leaves you with 29. So anytime you're dividing by a linear, your remainder will be a number. Okay, and so that would be nice and easy to type in. And so our quotient here is 2x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5x plus 15. And then our remainder, 29. And so if we were just writing it out as a single expression, you would have a plus sign after the 15 and then a 29 divided by the x minus 2. Okay, something that's really important is if I do ask for the remainder, make sure you're just typing in the 29, not the 29 divided by x minus 2. Okay, this is the remainder. All right, we're going to do this example 5, and then don't worry about the geometry application. It's an easy example, but I'd rather us move on. Okay, so degree 4 by degree 2. We're going to have lots of placeholders. We're missing the x squared term in the dividend, and we're missing the x term in the divisor. Okay, and so for our setup, we got to fill those in. So 6x4 plus, nope, not there. Plus, nope. Let me start over. 6x4 minus 2x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 5. Missing both of those. We went straight from x cubed to 5. So that's 2 placeholders right there. And then for the divisor, x squared plus 0x plus 3. Super important. Don't want to forget those. Okay. Now, x squared times what would give me 6x4? 6x squared. Take that 6x squared, multiply by all 3 of these terms in the divisor. Gives you 6x4 plus 0x cubed plus 18x squared. Draw your line. Change all these to negative. Negative 2 minus 0 gives you negative 2x cubed. 0 minus 18. I don't know why that looks so weird to me. Minus 18x squared. And then just bring down the last 2. Once you bring those down, you get to ignore everything above the line. We are at this blue polynomial. Asking ourselves, x squared times what would give me negative 2x cubed? We need a negative 2 and an x for negative 2x. Negative 2x times x squared is negative 2x cubed. Negative 2 times 0 is just 0 for the x squared term. Then negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 with the x. Draw your line. Change your signs. Negative 18 minus 0 is negative 18 for the x squared term. 0 plus 6 is just 6 for the x term. And then we have that plus 5. And we're still going. X squared times what would give me negative 18 x squared? just negative 18. Okay, so negative 18 times x squared is negative 18x squared plus 0x. 8 times 3 is 24. 54? Negative 54. Negative 18 times 3 is negative 54. So draw your line, change your signs, leaving you with a 6x plus 59. X squared can't go into x, so that is our remainder. So if the test question asks for quotient, we type in 6x squared minus 2x minus 18. The remainder, we would type in the 6x plus 59. And then to write this in its weird form, go ahead and write the quotient, then a plus sign, and then the 6x plus 59 is divided by the divisor. You don't have to put the placeholder there.